Hello. Hello, this is Gudmund. Welcome back. Welcome to the channel. Tonight, we are going to be reading Jack and the Beanstalk. So yeah, and Alex is going to help me turn the pages. Alright, well, let's get started. Oh, I'm ready. Alright. That's a bag of money right there. And one of those harps. Alrighty. It's a nice looking plane right there. Oh, alright, let's go. Oops. Hold on, the lighting. Yeah, there we go. Alrighty, let's go. Jack lived with his mother in a little cottage. It had dormer windows and green shutters, whose hinges were so rusty that the shutters wouldn't shut. Jack had taken some of them to make a raft with. I mean, that sounds pretty fun. Look at that house. It looks pretty cozy, actually. But I kind of want to have it against like a hill or something, so it's like inside the hill, you know? Anyways. He was always trying to make things that seemed like things in books. Rafts or sledges, or wooden spearheads to play with at savages with, or paper crowns with which to play at kings. He never did any work, and this was very hard on his mother, who took in washing and had a great trouble to make both ends meet. But he did not run away to sea, or set out to see his future, because he knew that would have broken his mother's heart. Oh. And he was very fond of her. Though he wouldn't work, he did useless pretty things for her, brought her bunches of wildflowers and made up songs, sad and merry, and sang them to her of an evening. Most of the time he spent in looking at the sky and the clouds and the leaves and the running water, and thinking how beautiful the world was and how he would love to see every single thing in it. He always seemed to be trying to dream one particular dream, and never could quite dream it. Interesting. Sometimes the thought of his mother working so hard while he did nothing would come suddenly upon him. He would rush off and try to help her. But whatever he did turned out wrong. If he went to draw water, he was sure to lose the bucket in the well. If he lifted the wash tub, it always slipped out of his fingers. And then there was the floor clean as well as the linen wash all over the floor. So that always ended in his mother saying, "Oh, run along, for goodness sake. Let me get on with my work. That stinks." And then Jack would go lie on his front, look at the ants busy along among the grass stalks, made up a pretty poem about the dignity of labor, and about how dear his good mother was. But poetry, however pretty, is difficult to sell, and the two got poorer and poorer. And at last, one day Jack's mother came out where he was lying on his back, watching the clouds go sailing by, and told him that the worst had come. Alright, ready. He's laying down right there. Tickle, tickle. Interesting. No help for it, she said, we must sell the cow." "Oh, let me take it to market," cried Jack, jumping up. "I shall pretend to myself I am a rich farmer with a cow to sell every market day." So the rope halter with Jack at one end of it and the cow at the other started off down the road. "Ask 5 gold pieces for her," said the mother, "and take what you can get, and don't let the grass grow under your feet." Jack went along very slowly and kept his eyes fixed on the ground. Because of the grass did grow under his feet, he wanted to watch it growing. That grass looks kind of dead, though. Whoa, look at those jelly beans. So this was how it was that he ran plump into something hard. Looking up, he saw a butcher in his wagon. "Why don't you look where you're going?" the butcher asked crossly. What a meanie. "Because I thought I might see you," said Jack. "Ha! You see, you're a clever boy," said the butcher, not at all offended. "Thinking of selling a cow?" "Well," said Jack, "that was rather the idea. And what's the price?" 5 gold pieces, said Jack boldly. "I wouldn't rob you for her, but offering such a poor price," said the butcher kindly. "Look here." He pulled out a handful of large, bright-colored beans. "Aren't they beautiful?" he said. "Well, they're pretty beautiful to me." "Wow. Oh, they are, said Jack. And they were. They had all the colours, all the splendour of precious stones. "Well, is it a bargain?" the butcher asked. "Oh yes," said Jack. "Take the ugly old cow." Wow, that was really rude. And with that he took the beans, thrust the end of the rope into the butcher's hand, and hurried off toward home. That wasn't very nice of him to say. Oh well. Boy, here we go. The drama. I don't think I had better tell you what happened when he told his mother what he had done. You can perhaps guess. I'll only say that it ended in his mother throwing the beans out the window and sending Jack to bed without his supper. Then she spent the evening ironing, and even now and then a tear fell down and hissed and fizzled on the hot iron. Oh boy. The next morning Jack woke up feeling very hot and half choked. He found his room rather darker than usual, and at first he decided that it was too early to get up. Then, as he was just snuggling the blanket closer around his neck, he saw what was shutting out the sunshine. The beans had grown up into a huge twisted stalk with immense leaves. When Jack ran out to the window and pushed his hand out among the green, he could see no top of the plant. It seemed to grow right up into the sky. Wow. Alright. Pretty cool. My goodness, it looks pretty fun. I'd love to climb that. Then suddenly Jack was a changed boy. Something wonderful had happened to him, and it had made him different. It sometimes happens to people that they see or hear something quite wonderful, and they are never altogether the same again. That's true. I've seen things. Maybe. They're kind of normal. Right. Jack scrambled into his clothes, ran to the door and shouted, "Mother, those beans have grown. I told you I made a good bargain with that silly old cow. I'm going to climb up and see what's at the top." And before his mother could stop him, he was out the window and up the beanstalk, climbing and wriggling among the branches. and when she reached the window, he was almost out of sight. She stood looking up after him. Still, she couldn't see him anymore, and then she sighed. I went to her son's untidy room. Oh, and went to her son's untidy room to make his bed and set all straight for him. Nice. Jack climbed on until his head felt dizzy and his legs and arms ached. He had no supper last night, you remember, and no breakfast before he started, but at last there was no more stalk to climb, and as soon as he reached the top tendril, it suddenly flattened and opened before him into a long, white, dusty road. Ooh. He was in a new land, and as far as he could see, nothing else was alive in that land but himself. The trees were withered. Oh, the trees! Wow, another plane of existence. Maybe, I don't know. The trees were withered. Okay, the fields were bare, and even every stream had run dry. Although it was not at all a nice place, but if it wasn't nice, it was new. And besides, he could not face the idea of going down the Beanstalk again without anything to eat. He set out to look for a house and beg a breakfast, okay? Ooh, very dreary. At that moment, something dark came between him and the light, fluttered above his head, and then settled on the road beside him. Oh mercy, I thought it was a great bird, cried Jack, but it wasn't. It was a fairy. Jack knew that at once, though he had never seen one before. There are some things you cannot mistake. Well, Jack, said Fairy, I've been looking for you. I believe I've been looking for you all my life. And you've come to that, said Jack. Yes, you have, said the Fairy. Now listen. She told Jack a story that made him all hot and cold and ashamed and eager to do something heroic at once, for she explained how the new land he had found had once belonged to his father, who was a good and great man, and who had ruled his land well and had been loved by his subjects. But unfortunately, one of his subjects had happened to be a giant, and being naturally of a large size, he considered himself more important than anyone else. And he had killed Jack's father, and with the help of a bad fairy had imprisoned the faithful subjects in the trees. Oh, I think I see the faces. Look. One right there, and there's one right there. And, 1, 2, right there. Since the giant's rule began, the land had not flourished. Nothing would grow on it. The houses fell down in ruins, and the waters ran dry. So the giant had shut himself and his wife up in a large white house with his precious belongings, and there he lived his selfish, horrid life. Oh my goodness. Now, said the fairy, the time has come for you to set things straight. And this really is what you've been trying to dream about all your life. You must find the giant and get back to your father's land for your mother. She has worked for you all your life. Now you will work for her, but you have the best of it, because her work was mending and washing and cooking and scrubbing, and your work is adventures. Go straight on and do the things first. Come. Do the things that first come into your head. This is good advice in ordinary life. It works well with this land too. Goodbye. And with a flutter of green shining wings, the fairy vanished, and Jack was left staring into nothingness. He didn't stare long though, for, as I said before, he was a changed boy. There are plenty of people who could go in for adventures splendidly, but somehow they are never able to do anything else. If they don't happen to fall with the adventures, they can do nothing but dream of them, and so have poor time of it in the world. Jack was one of these people. Only he, you see, had got out of this world, fallen in with the adventures into the bargain. He went along the road, and when he came to a large white house, the first thing he thought of doing was, curiously enough, to knock at the door and ask for something to eat, just as you or I would have done if we had gone up a large beanstalk without breakfast or last night's supper. "Go away," said the old woman who opened the door, just as many people do if you ask them for something to eat. They don't happen to know you. "My husband is a giant, and he'll eat you if he sees you." "You needn't let him see me," said Jack. "I haven't had anything to eat for ages. Do give me something, there's a good sort." So she took him in and gave him some bread and butter and poached egg. Before he was halfway through it, the whole house began to shake. The old woman seized Jack, put his egg plate into his hand and pushed him into the oven. Closed the door. "Oh, is this the Wicked Witch from Hansel and Gretel?" "Oh, no. Jack had the sense not to call out. He finished his egg in the oven. Then he found he could see through the crack near the hinges, so he glued his eyes to it and saw. "Ooh, look at that man. Good Lord, is that a pig? That's a big pig." He saw the giant, a great big fat man with red hair and mutton chop whiskers. The giant flung himself down at the table and roared for his dinner, and his trembling old wife brought him a whole hog, which he tore in pieces. In his hands he ate without any manners. He didn't offer his wife so much as a piece of the crackling. When he had finished, he licked his great greasy fingers and called out, "Bring me my Ben hen. Bring me my hen, maybe. We'll see in the next one." "Oh, it's a hen." Jack was rather surprised, as he thought it was a curious creature to have on the dinner table. But the next instant he understood, for the hen stood on the table, and every time the giant said "lay," it laid a golden egg, and went on doing this until Jack thought it must be really tired, and until the giant was, for he lay back in his chair and fell asleep. The first thing it occurred to Jack to do was to leap out of the oven and seize the hen under his arm, and make off for the beanstalk in his home as fast as ever he could. I don't know if that's a good idea, because one, if he were to take the hen, this giant might, think that his wife took it, and then he's gonna, hurt her or something. I don't think it's a good idea. Jack's gotta think about this. Hopefully it'll turn out okay. Hold on. Okay. Oops. I won't describe the scene in the cottage when he arrived. Okay, so it looks like he took it. His mother was inclined to scold him, but when she thoroughly understood about the hen, she kissed him instead, and said that she had always believed he would do something clever someday. Jack sold golden eggs at the market every week, and his mother gave up taking in washing, but she still went on cleaning the cottage herself. I believe she rather liked the kind of work. Oh, there's more to the pages, so there's more. Oh, the lighting. It's a little bright. Oh, I think that's better. Then suddenly one morning, as Jack stood in the cottage garden with his hands in his pockets, his hands in the pockets of a quite new pair of breeches, he felt he couldn't go on living without another journey up the beanstalk, and forgetting to tell his mother that he might not be in to dinner, He was off and up, and he found the same dry, withered land at the top, and although he was not hungry this time, he couldn't think of anything new to say, so he said the same thing to the old woman, but this time he found it much harder to get around her. Although she did not know him again, either his face was changed or the breeches were complete disguise. No, she kept on saying. Jack lost his temper when she had said it 22 times. A boy came here before. He was a bad one and a thief, and I can't let another boy in. But I've got an honest face, said Jack. Everybody says so. That's true, said the woman. She let him in. I don't... That saying is a little bit... We'll continue on. Maybe about... Alright. This time he was obliged to hide before he had begun to eat, and he was rather glad, because, as I said, he was not hungry. The giant's wife had only given him bread and cheese, and the cheese was rather stale. When they heard the giant coming along the road, the woman lifted the copper lid and made Jack get in. The giant seemed in a good temper, for he chuckled. He chucked his wife under the chin and said, "Fresh meat today, my dear. I can smell it." I'm afraid you're wrong," said his wife, and Jack could hear by the way she said it that she was very frightened. "It's half the ox you had yesterday, and that fresh meat you smell is just a bit of the dead cat. Oh, excuse me. The smell is just a bit of a dead cart horse that a crow dropped on the roof." Where was the big crow? Wow, look at all these bones. There's like human skulls in the back. I'd be pretty... I don't know. Oh, look. There's the boy right there. Oh my goodness, look at the skulls. Man, he really is. He's kind of a giant. Maybe he's not very big, actually. The giant seemed sulky after that, and he didn't eat his dinner with much appetite. And when his wife was clearing away, he suddenly laid hold of her and shouted, "Bring me my money bags." Jack couldn't help lifting up the copper lid a bit when he heard the chink of coins. When he saw the giant counting out a great heap of gold, he longed to have it for his own, for he knew that it ought be right to belong to him or his mother. Well, it technically does. He's probably still... It is his... it's his land and stuff, you know. Alright, now. Presently, the giant fell asleep, and Jack looked all around to see if the wife was about before he dared to get out of the copper, and he heard her walking around upstairs. So he jumped out, seized on the bags, and again made off for the Beanstalk. He reached home as his mother was clearing away the dinner plates. But I won't describe the scene, of course. They were now rich, and Jack wished to live in a large house. But his mother said she couldn't leave the bits of things. And when he came to think it over, Jack felt that he couldn't bear to leave the Beanstalk. Oh, look at that. The coins were just falling out. Another day came when Jack felt he must make another journey to the giant's land. Disguised in a new smock frock and gaiters. Well, I don't know what that is. Probably some olden day clothing or something. And the same thing happened, except it was harder than ever to persuade the giant's wife to take him in. Yes, anyways, I keep my opinions to myself. She did at last, however, after explaining the two boys had served her badly, and that he turned out to be bad too, then the giant would most likely kill her. No sooner was Jack inside the house than the giant was heard coming. The woman showed Jack an empty barrel, and he crept under it. Alright, let's see where this goes. Ooh, there's a cat. Meow. Then the giant came in, and he rolled his eyes, twisted his great head about, and swore that he smelt fresh meat. His wife told him he was wrong, but this time he didn't believe her, and he looked in the copper, and in the oven, and in the bread crock, and under the sink, but he never thought of the empty barrel. Partly, I dare say, because he thought it was full of something that wasn't full of. At last he gave up the search and sat down to his dinner, and when he had finished, he stretched himself under Jack. He stretched himself until Jack thought some of his buttons would burst and called, "Wife, bring me my harp." Ooh, look at that. Oh, goodness gracious. The old woman brought in a beautiful golden harp, which she set on the table, and as soon as the giant said, "Play," it began to give out beautiful soothing music, and the giant presently fell asleep, while his wife went into the back kitchen to wash up. The first thing that occurred to Jack was to upset the barrel, dash to the table and take the harp, but as his hands touched it, cried out in a human voice, Master, for one second, Jack nearly dropped it. Oh, there's a face on it right there. Whoa, kind of creepy. And then he realized the giant was waking. He rushed to the door, kicking the cat in his hurry as he heard the giant stumble out after him. Yeah, but I don't know how much I like this Jack fellow over here. Even though it is his land, he just kicked the cat. Let's continue on. But the giant was heavy and only half awake. By the time Jack was down the beanstalk, the giant was only just at the top, but he was coming down. That was quite plain, for the next moment the great beanstalk shook and shivered. With his great weight, Jack screamed to his mother for a chopper. "I took it to the chopper." And like a good woman she was, she bought it without asking what it was for. Alrighty. Yep, he looks like he's out cold. Jack hacked at the beanstalk and it cut like butter, so that when it fell, the giant fell down with it and was killed, and that was the end of him. Wow. Well, ooh, look at that. There's a crown right there. You see the crown? Ooh. Now Jack and his mother had plenty to live upon, and might I have rented a palace if they had liked, but still Jack's mother wouldn't leave her cottage. As for the enchanted land above, well, the fairy told Jack that after the death of the giant, people came out of the trees, and the land flourished under the rule of the giant's wife, a most worthy woman, whose own fault was that she was too ready to trust boys. Alright. The end. Interesting, I guess, story. Interesting, yeah. Oh, look, there's the fairy flying away. Alrighty, I think this is going to be it for this story time. We do have plenty more books to read. I've got some ones about fairies. I mean, it's kind of interesting that this book has a fairy in it, and a bunch of other books I have fairies in it. So, yeah. Anyways, we got like 4 more books. Yeah, alrighty, well, this is going to be it for this video. I hope you liked Jack and the Beanstalk. Alrighty, have a good day, good night, And we will see you in the next one. Goodbye.